This is our first attempt at using this new venue, and the Reverend was kind enough to open this facility, and I really liked it. So welcome everybody from the Tapestry congregation here. You're welcome. And I am particularly pleased Swamiji is returning to the LA County corridor, thanks to Swami Advayatmananda hosting him more recently. We've had quite a hiatus for a while, and so I'm particularly pleased to invite Swamiji back and have him return. I'm pleased that I'm seeing some familiar faces from 15, 20 years ago, and that's really exciting to see that the study is alive and well in everybody's homes. So I would like to take some time introducing Swamiji for those of us that are new to him. Swami Viditatmananda has been studying for many, many years Vedanta and Sanskrit. I find him particularly relatable because he's not a traditional monk that grew into a household of monks. And like me, he has gone to a college education, come to the United States, studied. And so in a lot of ways, I find that he's a role model I could aspire to emulate and watch and study with. So having lived and worked here for many, many years and continuing with his traditional studies, he then returned and put some exclusive time into the study in the scriptures and has been teaching and tirelessly working through the United States and India. He calls 2 places his home. In India, he is at a city called Ahmedabad in the province of Gujarat, and Tattva-tirth is what he calls home. And in the summer and fall, he comes to Pennsylvania in a small town of Sailorsburg, and Arsha Gurukul is his home. And periodically, he comes into the community and teaches. And this is the generosity of the teachers and the monks that we face with. In the years bygone, people knew enough that this spiritual quest is a priority. So at some point, people would go up to a monk and a teacher where they reside, and people would go and study with them for years. We find ourselves with exceptionally generous teachers like Swami Viditatmananda. We tend not to know this is a priority. We tend to want to put other accolades in our lives and then happenstance want to figure this. And with their kind compassion, they create an outreach as opposed to the traditional inreach. And they come and tell us, this is something important, this is what has helped my life, and this is how I am better today. And so we learn and we emulate and absorb. But Swamiji's teaching helps him. It helps me the day I can emulate what Swamiji is saying, what he's teaching, and it becomes true for me, and I can create a conduct in my life that is in accordance to what he's been saying for the last 27 years. And I met Swamiji as a teenager when I was reading Socrates, and I felt the Western theology had all the answers, and coming from a traditional, I was busy being counterculture. And, you know, indulgently, he still kept me into his fold, and I studied later. And I still hope that I have an semblance of what he would wish for me to be. And I still continue to aspire, hoping that someday I am a more able student and I can study and fully grasp what he's saying. Since we had a mixed group, part of the people from the Tapestry congregation and part of student body and then part new visitors, I thought we would have the topic of what is the Vedic vision. And if it was centuries ago and for a totally different society, does is there a message that is universal? Is there a message that is inclusive? And how does it help and sustain and serve and nourish us here in America? And with that, I would invite Swamiji to elaborate on the topic. And I'm looking quite forward to his second topic, which is in Diamond Bar. And Sam will give the closing remarks at the end.
Thank you very much, Ruchika. Have you shut off this microphone? Okay. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The topic of our discussion this evening is the Vedic vision in an American society. I think by the word or expression American society, what is meant is the society or the people in the 21st century. And as Ruchika said, Vedic vision. Vedas are the most ancient scriptures of India. They are looked upon as the primary source book for all spiritual knowledge, and by even the accounts of the Western scholars. Rig Veda, which is looked upon as the oldest scripture of humankind, is anywhere from 1500 to 3000 BC. So point is that the teaching that was imparted thousands of years ago, does it have any relevance in the modern times? Aren't things totally different? Are not the social conditions different? Are not the historical, geographical situation different? So time, place, conditions, they change. And what existed 5,000 years ago is so different from what exists now. The kind of problems, the kind of situations that we face are quite different from the situations that the people at that time were required to face. Now, this is a life of activity, life of stress, life which demands from me to perform. So performance is important, success is important. So this is it not altogether a different kind of a situation? Emotionally, socially, as compared to what existed in those ancient times? Answer is yes and no. Certain things change, but certain things do not change. Once where Swamiji was explaining, when he was invited for dinner, and they were all sitting on the dining table, this modern lady in New Delhi, so she took her chapati, made pieces, then used the fork inserted in that piece, dipped into this vegetable, and ate. That's a modern style of eating. In the olden days, you eat with your fingers. Now you eat with your fork and knife. So the way you eat has changed. But that you eat the same chapati, or that you eat, has not changed. Maybe nowadays we may talk about the organic things and whatnot, and so, yes, we may be more conscious about what we are eating, but that we need to eat, that we consume food only through the mouth, and that we digest it in our stomach, this is all the same. So, perhaps, as Ruchika said, it is outsourcing versus insourcing. Those days, the aspirants were required to go to wise people, to the teachers. And today, the teachers come to us. In fact, the teacher need not even be present physically. With technology, not only we have the audio, we have the video, and we have online. So things are so different. That is true. Things have changed. There is change in human being also. What a human being did those 5,000 years ago, and what is he doing today? What is the place of women at that time? What's the place of women today? And things have changed. The world has become very small. There is so much, of contact, so much of input. So lots of things have changed, no doubt about that. Technology is there, a lot of empowerment is there. There was no cell phone those days, and there was no internet those days, definitely. So from one standpoint, there is a lot of change. We are modern people, we are. But it turns out, it appears that some basic need of human being has remained the same. Just as what I eat and how I eat has changed, but that I need to eat has remained the same. What I drink and how I drink also may have changed, but that I need to appease my hunger, quench my thirst, those needs have remained the same. Similarly, how I entertain myself, how I seek to be happy, what means do I employ in order to make myself happy, those things have changed, no doubt. There were no movies that time, there were no games, these things were not there. But that I need to be happy, that has remained. That what creates stress in me, what makes me unhappy, what makes me sad would have changed perhaps. The workplace is different, the home environment, family environment is different, the social environment is different. So, now the dynamics is quite different. And what causes me to become happy or unhappy has changed, perhaps. But that I become happy and that I become unhappy, that has remained the same. That I find that I love happiness, I like happiness, I dislike unhappiness, that has remained the same. That when I look at the various pursuits in my life, I find that basically all the pursuits are motivated from the need of seeking happiness and avoiding unhappiness. Sukha prapte dukkha nivritti, meaning the attainment of happiness and getting rid of unhappiness is what I am doing right now. How I am doing is different, but that's all basically what I am doing. Those days also people became sad, today also people become sad. Those also they became happy, today also they become happy. So about human beings, certain things will not change. That we are self-conscious beings, that fact has not changed. That we have free will, that has not changed. That we are conscious of ourselves, and that I have an opinion about myself, I have a perception about myself, an opinion about myself, some complexes about myself, that fact has not changed. And therefore, the form may have changed, but the basic spirit remains the same. Searching for happiness and seeking to avoid unhappiness, that basic requirement is the same. The form of how I seek happiness and how I avoid unhappiness. Now, of course, I can go to Bali, I can go to Hawaii, I can do various things to get happiness, to get unhappiness. But the fact is that I need happiness and that I want to become free from unhappiness. That basic thing has remained the same. Inasmuch as Veda or Vedanta, what is Vedanta? The teaching obtaining at the end of the Veda is called Vedanta. Or in the language of the scriptures, it's called Upanishad, is a body of teaching which basically addresses this fundamental human need. That human being has a fundamental need. To be what? To be happy and becoming free from unhappiness. That unhappiness may manifest as sadness, may manifest as stress, may manifest as anxiety, may manifest as fear, may manifest as conflicts. Unhappiness may manifest in many ways. But that I want to become free from sadness, I want to become free from stresses, I want to become free from anxiety, from fear, from rejection, from injustice, that need has remained the same. And Upanishads address this basic need of the human being. In that sense, the teaching of the Vedas remains as relevant as it was relevant today as it was at that time. The Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, they in fact impart a teaching which is of universal value. They address a human being, not a human being of a given time or a given place or a given situation. Although, when a conversation takes place between the teacher and the student, Upanishads are a body of teaching which are in the form of a dialogue between the teacher and the student. Traditionally, a student or an aspirant approaches a wise person and expresses his jnana, his desire to know, his desire to become free, his desire to become free from sadness also. So an aspirant expresses this desire and the teacher imparts him the knowledge. So the language in which it is imparted is different from the language obtaining today. The setting in which it is imparted, the setting also is different. Today we have this setting. Those days it may be on the bank of the river, in a forest, in some caves, wherever. But what is imparted is of universal value. The examples given then would be different from examples given today. So those were old-fashioned examples. To communicate to the student, we always need models. We always need examples. And in those days, old-fashioned examples would be given. And today, a teacher may use this new setup and give examples which are relevant to the person today. So yes, the language in which it is communicated, the method in which it is communicated changes and has to change. But what is communicated does not change, because the basic need of the human being is the same, and therefore the basic message of fulfilling that need also is the same. And therefore, the message of the Vedas, Vedic message, is as relevant to a person in the 21st century as it was relevant thousands of years ago. That's what all the scriptures say anyway. Bible also says that, Quran also says that, Vedas also say that. That they are universal teachings. Later on they may have been made sectarian and stuff like that, basic universal teaching. So what's the universal message that Vedanta gives? What basic problem of human being it addresses? How does it help the human being satisfy the basic need? Now then, we ask this question, what is our basic need? What is it that we want in our life? There is a very famous dialogue in one of the Upanishads. There's a dialogue between a husband and wife, or husband turned teacher and wife turned disciple. It's a dialogue between a teacher and disciple, but they happen to be husband and wife. So this husband, who was an enlightened man of enlightenment, a wise person, very well known in the scriptures, at one point in time in their life, he addresses his wife and says, "Hey Maitreyi, now I'm going to leave the home. I'm going to embrace the life of a wandering monk, life of a mendicant, meaning that I'm no more going to be in the house, no more going to be with you. I'm going to walk out. But don't worry, I've made enough provision for you to lead life." So when Sage Yajnavalkya said this to Maitreyi, normally a wife would ask, "How much have you left? What would be my monthly expense? What will be my lifespan?" And things like that. That's what one would ask. But this person asked a most amazing question. She asks him, "Oh, revered sir," because those days the wife would always address the husband with reverence. Whatever the social situation existed at that time. It's not like, "Honey, how are you?" There's a different way they addressed that time. That's different. So she says that, "Suppose I get the whole earth filled with riches, not only the wealth that you are leaving to me, for me, but I get the whole earth filled with all the riches. Would that make me immortal?" Very strange question. Or most unexpected response from this person. If I get all the wealth in the world, will it make me immortal? Husband says, my dear, no. The wealth can give you a comfortable life. You can live comfortably from wealth. But as far as immortality is concerned, I'll tell you what immortality stands for. But as far as immortality is concerned, wealth cannot give you that. What is immortality? Immortality means freedom from death. So this seeking freedom from death is a basic need of human being. He wants to become free from death. There are few things in life that we do not like. We do not like death. We know that we are going to die because I see everybody dying around me. But I want to stretch out as long as I can with my diet, with my exercise, with my workout, with my this, that and whatever, or whatever I understand as a means of stretching my life as long as I can. Those means I will employ, which shows there is a basic desire to avoid death, if not because so. I don't expect to become free from death, I know I cannot, to avoid it, meaning that I do not want death. I want life. I love to live. I love existence. I do not love non-existence. I love existence. All right, Swami, you can live as long as you want, but you'll be a miserable fellow. You can live as long as you want, but there'll be unhappiness, misery in life. That's not acceptable. Not only I want to live, but live happily. So second, other need that I have is to live happily. Live, love for life and love for happiness. Okay, Swami, we are giving you a special injection. They'll put you in coma. You will live forever and live happily. I don't want that. Not only I want to live and live happily, but I want to be conscious that I am happy. So love for being conscious, love for being happy, love to be alive, love for existence, love for happiness, love for consciousness. The Vedas recognize this as a basic human need, or what basically human being wants. And if we examine our activities, we will find that what all we do is motivated by one or more of these three desires. Many activities are with a desire to avoid death. And that's how the whole healthcare industry, whole pharmaceutical industry, all these fellows mint money, they exist, survive and thrive because of this need on my part. The need to be conscious, the need to know what's happening where. I want to be informed. I don't want ignorance, I want knowledge. So whole media of all kinds, they thrive. Not only newspapers, television, internet and whatever other media are there, all of them thrive because of my keen desire to know. I don't want stupidity, I don't want ignorance, I want knowledge, I want to be wise. I love wisdom, I do not love stupidity. And third, I do not want unhappiness, I want happiness. And the only way I know how to become happy is by acquiring those various things which will make me happy. It has been my conclusion that happiness is in here. What is this? A cell phone? Internet? WhatsApp? Twitter? I don't know what. A movie? Or dance, or music, whatever. my basic conclusion is that the happiness that I am seeking is to be found in one of those places. The knowledge, therefore, there is a whole industry, billions and trillions of dollars, which thrives on supposedly satisfying my need of deriving happiness from restaurants to the movie theaters to whatever else. So three desires bring about three kinds of pursuits. The desire to be, the desire to know, and the desire to be happy. I want to be, but happily I want to be. I want to live, but happily. I want to live happily and with knowledge, with consciousness. So thus Vedas identify these three basic needs of human being. Now the point is, that's exactly what I've been doing. All my pursuits are basically to satisfy these needs. From the time I became a little conscious of myself, had a little understanding, from that time onwards to today and forever, all my activities can be traced to the attempt to fulfilling one of these needs, one or more of these needs. So what does human being want? He wants to live happily and live consciously. He loves wisdom, loves happiness, loves life. Where is wisdom? Is it in books? We are trying, and our pursuit has not ended. Where is happiness? In those objects of happiness? We are trying, the pursuit has not ended. Where is life? In living 90 years, 95 years, 100 years? That pursuit has not ended. Meaning that the way we are trying to satisfy those needs of being happy and being informed and knowledgeable or wise, they do not seem to be coming to an end, do not seem to be satisfied merely, with what we are doing. Somehow the way we are living our life, somehow what we are doing does not seem to satisfy these basic needs. That is called immortality. So this woman, her name was Maitreyi, when she asked her husband that if you leave all the wealth to me, if I get the wealth of the whole world, that word wealth not only includes money, it includes also power and all possible worldly achievements. If I have all the power, will I be happy? All the wealth, will I be happy? All the name and fame, will I be happy? So that word wealth, if I have all the wealth in the world, you know that word wealth stands for all worldly accomplishments. Meaning that if I have all the worldly accomplishments, all the wealth, all the power, all the name, all the fame, and whatever it is that a human being is aspiring for, if I had all those things, would that make me happy? Would that satisfy these three needs? Of being happy with knowledge, these needs of living life, happiness, knowledge, with all these worldly accomplishments satisfy those basic needs? That's what she means. And the reply is, my dear, I'm sorry to say that no. What the wealth and name and fame and power, etc. can give you is comfort. Can give you self-gratification, sense gratification, ego gratification, yes. So we are seeking sense gratification through variety of foods and variety of entertainments. And through power, fame, wealth, we are seeking ego gratification. So different kinds of gratification we are seeking and deriving. Sense gratification, by surrounding myself with pleasurable objects of senses, sounds, taste, touch, sight. Seeking emotional gratification by surrounding myself with loved ones, with friends, with etc. Seeking intellectual gratification by informing myself with what's happening, by traveling, by seeing different places. All of that gives me also a lot of excitement, intellectual gratification. And ego gratification, by power. I can control, I can dominate. I'm a powerful person. So wealth can empower me, position can empower me, fame can empower me. This is gratification. This is what we are trying all the time, hoping that that will satisfy my basic need to be happy, permanently happy. Not only I want to be happy, immortally, permanently happy. What I am seeking is permanent happiness, eternal happiness, abiding happiness. But we find that that's what the teacher said, that abiding happiness nothing can give you. Nothing outside of you can give you. They can give you flashes of happiness. They can give you momentary happiness, temporary happiness. But nothing in the universe has the capability of giving me any sustained or lasting happiness. Because we get used to anything. I was living in a crummy apartment, I wanted a bigger apartment, I got it, I was so excited. Oh Swami, my apartment is 9th floor of this building and look at my view, and it was very exciting. Every morning I would wake up and I look at the sunrise, and in the evening from this window I can see the sunset. How many days you do that? For a week? 2 weeks? 3 months? Okay, same sunset, same sunrise, same view. Now what next? Meaning the capacity of anything to give me that gratification is limited. This is what they call the law of diminishing return. A thing gives me return which diminishes. Same 7th floor, same sunset, same sunrise. It gives me gratification, but slowly the gratification I get declines, diminishing return. And a day may come when I will close my eyes. I don't want this sunrise, every day the same stuff, stop it. And that goes with everything. Out of a millionaire, wow. Swamiji, somebody called, I'm a millionaire. Those days, when the stock prices were rising and stuff like that, I'm a millionaire. It's all on paper. But he was a millionaire. Excited. How many days? And all of this has been confirmed by the modern research, by the way. So what we have been saying is also verified by the modern research, that the capacity of all these things to make us happy is limited, is diminishing. In fact, the very thing that can make me happy can make me miserable tomorrow. That's another unfortunate thing. If a thing can make me happy, when the situations change, the same thing can also make me unhappy. Our Swamiji laughs at, laughingly says, this man loved this woman. And they were going to this beach so often and, having really beautiful time. Something happened between them and she left him. Now he's a miserable person. Now when he goes to that beach is the most painful thing. What was a place of great joy has become now, I don't want to go there. Swami, I don't like to go, I don't want to go home. The thing is, what can give me happiness also can become a source of unhappiness, which is everybody's experience. Before you become the President of the United States, so Clinton says that we are rejoicing. For 2-3 days they set aside to rejoice. They knew that's all that they had. Moment you are in that position, you are in that chair, and all the kinds of challenges and things that come, do not give a moment of peace. Which is nothing wrong in it. We are not saying that this is right or wrong. This is what it is. That's not anybody's fault. That's how things are. So we should understand that. That doesn't mean that there is anything wrong about wealth. That we are saying don't have wealth or name, fame. We are not saying that. Always think we have to understand things for what they are. So we know what place they have in our life. So everything has a place. Everything has something to contribute in my life, and I should know what they contribute, and I give that place in my life, so everything has a place. You can't say money is not in need. Everybody needs money. It always helps if you have some influence. It always helps. If you have some connection, it always helps. If not for you, for helping somebody, it helps you. Always helps to have some power, some recognition. But they cannot give me what I am seeking. That's the only lesson that we have to learn from this. That's what Sage Ajnavalkya said. That there is no expectation. And so, as far as immortality is concerned, meaning the lasting happiness is concerned, you cannot get it from wealth, which stands for everything other than myself. He gave a very nice lesson. He says, look, hey Maitreyi, you love your husband? Don't think that you love your husband for husband's sake. Husband is loved for the sake of the self. And one loves wife not for the sake of the wife, for the sake of the self, and children, and servants, and wealth, and whatever it is in this world which I love, I do not love them for their sake, I love them for my sake. Meaning that in love for anything, the love for myself is always involved. The love for everything else is conditional love. I love this person, all right, as long as that person satisfies certain conditions which I impose. As long as you behave in this manner, as long as you do this, as long as you don't do that, as long as you satisfy my expectation, you remain the object of my love. Afterwards, as Swami says, I love you, 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 I love you. We need space and stuff like that, which is okay. The point is that even the love that we have is a conditional love. For anything, which is nothing right or wrong. That's what it is, This is not a criticism, this is an observation, understand, not a criticism, an observation. So we should understand the realities of life, that's a reality. That when love or wealth also is conditional, power also is conditional, people also is conditional. As long as they make me happy, so long they remain the object of my love. The moment they start making me unhappy, they no more remain the object of my love, because through them what I love is happiness. For my sake means what? For the sake of the pleased self. What I basically love is that pleased self. The self that enjoys lasting happiness. That is my basic love. And whatever appears to promise me giving that love becomes an object of my love, And when I find that that is not really not so, I get disenchanted, disillusioned. So then, what I am seeking, that eternal happiness, or you call it eternal love, that also is fine. Either you can call it unconditional happiness, unconditional love, unconditional freedom, whichever word you like. So I love peace, unconditional freedom, unconditional love, unconditional happiness, all amount to the same thing. That's what I want. So human being then also wanted that only, and human being today also wants that only. Now that we are more sophisticated in trying to fulfill this requirement, and they may not have been those sophisticated. They may be more crude, and we are very sophisticated. But the basic need is the same. Basic attempt also is the same. And basic disappointment also is the same. Meaning that all disappointments in our life, all stresses in our life, all unhappiness in our life, all sorrow in our life is a result of our not being able to be successful in fulfilling this basic desire. Every time I become disappointed, I become unhappy. All right. So what do the Vedas have to say? What did the sage told his wife? Atmanastu kamaya saram priyam bhavati. Hey Maitreyi, what is dear to you is dear for your own self, meaning that what you are seeking from there is to be found from yourself. So this is a basic message or teaching that the Vedas provide. That what we are seeking in our life is to be discovered from our own self. Most amazing. How can it be? Swamiji, I am seeking lasting happiness, eternal happiness. Are you going to tell me that eternal happiness is myself? Or I want eternal life, I want to live forever, I want existence. You mean existence is myself? You mean that love is myself? I'm always seeking love, I'm always begging for love. Please love me, please love me. Always begging for love, are we not? Trying to please people so that they will accept us, so that they will love us. Trying to please them, trying to seek their approval, so that they will not reject me, they will accept me, they will love me. So what I am seeking all along from the world, says the Upanishad, that is not out there, it is not in here, it is yourself. Not out there, not in here, it is yourself. And thus, the whole attention is changed here. How can this be? How can it be that if happiness is my nature, how come I find myself searching for happiness out there? How come? How come I don't experience happiness all the time? Isn't it funny or ridiculous that what I am is what I am seeking from elsewhere? So Vedantic teachers tell us a story to illustrate this. The story of what, The story of the 10th man. Everybody knows that. Here, once upon a time in a village, a group of children, they wanted to go for a picnic. But those days, children could not make an independent decision. They always needed the permission from the elderly people. Therefore, these children approached an elderly gentleman of the village and requested him that tomorrow we wish to go out for an outing. Can we do that? This old person was a generous person. So okay, you can do. One condition, one of you should take the responsibility of bringing everybody back safely. Will one of you take the responsibility? So one fellow volunteers, yes, I will take the responsibility of bringing all of them back. All right? Make sure that all of you return safely. Let me see how many are you. Line up before me. Let me count how many you are. So all children lined up before him. He counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See the way I am presenting the story, There are 10 of you, all right? Make sure it's your responsibility that all of you can return safely. Yes? So thus 10 boys set out for an outing. They came across a river. They swam across the river, but children knew how to swim in the village. They reached the other bank of the river. Before proceeding, this fellow, whose responsibility it was to bring them back safely, he said, wait, before we proceed further, let me verify if all of us have reached here safely before we proceed further. So how to determine if all of us have reached safely? By counting them. How do we count them? The way the old gentleman counted the previous evening. How did he count? By asking him to line up and count. So he said, come on fellows, line up, let me count. They all lined up. He counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But we were 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Different ways he counted. Every time the answer is 9. So he invites one of his friends. You please come forward and count. So he joined the line and this fellow came forward. But they all went to the same school. He also counted the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One by one, each one of them came forward and counted. And what is the count? 9. Now this is a unanimous decision or unanimous understanding that one fellow is. We are only 9. The 10th man is lost. When the 10th boy is lost, there is no way that you can proceed further. There is no way that you can keep quiet. You have to search for him. So they divided themselves in search parties. One party was looking at this bank of the river, other party, that bank of the river, third party, in the water in case the fellow is drowned. And they were searching for the whole day. And then they said, oh, I saw somebody on the hilltop there. I saw somebody behind the tree. I saw somebody in the temple. I saw somebody. And so they had some kind of, visions of how this lost boy. Thus a whole day was spent. They could not find him. They returned where they had started, at the bank of the river, tired, sad, crying, seated under a tree, not knowing what to do. Fortunately for them, another elderly gentleman happened to pass by. The children called him. He came near. So all children are so sad. Say, what's the matter, children? Why are you so sad? Then the leader stood up and told the story of how one of them was lost. How did you determine that one of you is lost? By counting. How did you count? I'll demonstrate. He demonstrated. Counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So only 9 people. Don't worry, my children. I'll produce the 10th boy. I know where he is. Oh, you know him? Very good. Where did you see him? I'll show you where he is. When he says that, those fellows, all sadness is gone. At least he is not lost. Thank God. And this man could inspire confidence in them, so he knows what he's talking about. So now they have the Shraddha, Bhakti, they have the trust, they have the faith in him, the devotion. So now the relationship has changed, That man has acquired that confidence and that trust. So, okay, children, do what I tell you. Come on, do what I ask you to do. Count again. But this time, be attentive. All right? He counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9. Where is the 10th boy? You are the 10th boy. And the tube light happened inside. That's called tube light in India. A fluorescent light in India takes a little time. When you switch it on, it takes a while to come on. So similarly, that's called a tube light. It means a fluorescent. Light came. Oh! That's called the light of knowledge, So when they say we use the expression light of knowledge, it's not this light. Whatever that light it is, light of knowledge. I'm the 10th man. Oh. So now, when these fellows are searching for the 10th boy, who are they searching for? Who are they searching for? How many 10th boys are there? Tell me. How many 10th boys are there? One, isn't it? Or each one of them? Each one of them, because each one of them is counting, each one of them is the 10th boy, is it not so? So when they were searching for the 10th boy, who were they searching for? Their own self, is it not so? Isn't it strange that you are searching for yourself? Under very peculiar conditions this can happen. Not always. Under very peculiar conditions it can happen. When you do not know who you are, you do not know that you are the 10th man. So you take yourself with some 9th man or something like that, and then conclude the 10th man is lost, and you may be searching for the 10th man. So when this kind of a peculiar condition obtains, then it is possible that one may find oneself searching for one's own self. That's what Vedanta says. Hey, you are searching for what you are searching for is to be found with yourself, in yourself. Meaning the immortality that you want, the existence that you want, the happiness that you want, the knowledge that you want, all of this is you. Therefore, the famous statement of Vedanta, Tattvamasi, that thou art. That thou art. That is the pronoun, that, right? Usually we use the pronoun that for something that is remote. We say that person, one who is not in the vicinity, who is remote, isn't it? I won't say that microphone, I said this microphone. So the pronoun this is used for something which is in proximity, in vicinity. You pronounce that for something that is remote. And thou or you is the pronoun used for yourself. So you are that. What does that pronoun that stand for? Something that is remote. Or something that is thought to be remote. What that happiness, that eternal happiness, that eternal knowledge, that existence which I am seeking is thought to be remote, just as this 10th man thought that the 10th man is remote, because you cannot be searching for what is, you could be searching for what you don't see, what is not in your experience, what is not here, what is remote. So human being is searching for something. One thing, that's all we want. In all the want behind all the wants, the desire behind all the desires is for immortality, if you want to call it, or eternal happiness or love or peace, freedom. In Vedanta, the word used for that is called moksha. What is moksha? Attainment of unsurpassable happiness and freedom once and for all from all unhappiness. Atyantika dukkha nivrutti, cessation of unhappiness once and for all, meaning I want happiness to go and never come back. And nirtisha sukha vaptihi, attainment of unsurpassable happiness, meaning I want happiness to come and never go. I want happiness to come and never go. I want unhappiness to go and never come. That is called moksha, that is presented by Vedanta as the very goal of life that every human being is searching for. And the solution that Vedanta provides for this basic need. This basic need. And Vedanta addresses the basic need of the person. Once this need is satisfied, other needs become immaterial. I want this kind of clothes and I want this kind of food, those needs no more remain a source of botheration. Other needs become immaterial. That means that I am not what I am not. So there are two things, I and non-I, the subject and the object, right? Everyone knows that this chair I am not, I have no problem with that. This table I am not, I am the subject, chair is the object, I am the subject, table is the object, and I am very clear that I, the subject, is different from the object, right? A simple thing. And therefore, we generally do not commit the mistake of taking ourselves to be table or chair. If table falls down, I don't feel I fall down, I fell down. If my house is leaking, I don't feel I am leaking. That distinction is very clear between the object and subject. But what happens is that distinction gets blurred when now everything outside this body is object, I am not, I am different from them, is very clear to me. Next question is, how about the body? Is it object or subject? This body, is it you? Who is subject? Subject is the one who is aware of the object. So table is the object of my awareness and I am the one who is aware of table. So table is object, I am subject. So I am different from whatever I am aware of. Is it not so? I am aware of this chair, therefore I am not the chair. I am aware of the table, so I am not the table, right? How about this body? Are you aware of the body? Aware of the hands and legs and head? Yes, I am aware of every part of the body, every cell of the body. Am I not? Am I not aware of this body as much as I am aware of this table? Or maybe more intimately aware of the body than I am aware of the table? Is it not so? Is it not that very often I even call this as my body? When I go to the doctor, often I say, what's the problem? Something is a problem with my head. Well, I don't know. My head is aching. I have a headache. Something with my stomach, my knees, my hips. My knees, my hips, my stomach, my head, my body mass index, or whatever it is, Whenever I call it my, I seem to show a wisdom that it is not I, because what is mine is not I. That distinction also we know that this recorder is mine, therefore I am not the recorder. This clock is mine, so I am not the clock. I am announcing to you so that you don't take it away, That I am giving these examples. So this is very clear that what I am not what is mine, I am the owner of that. I am the possessor of that. I am possessor of this clock. I am not the clock. I'm possessor of this recorder, I'm not the recorder. So also, I'm the possessor of this body. Is it not so? Because I in fact very often identify this body as my body. The possessor is different from what he or she possesses. Thank God that I possess this car. I am not the car. When the car is banged, I am not banged. The car is total. I am alive. I am Swami. I was intact. The car was total. Okay. How about the mind? The mind. Is it? Am I the mind? What is mind? Various thoughts. The various thoughts include my emotions, my memories, my understanding, my information, my wisdom. All of this is in my mind, you see, in form of thoughts. So next question is, this mind, again, often we say my mind. I remember when we were children, sometimes mother would tell us, don't come near me today, my mind is not in the right place. She would say, stay away from me. So sometimes we identify the mind as my mind. What happened to my mind today? I don't know. It's not in the right place. I'm not in a good, my mind is not I'm not in a good mood. So I tell this story everywhere of our Swamiji. This man comes before our Swamiji and says, Swamiji, I'm restless. Swamiji, I'm restless. So Swamiji is my guru. He says, he started teasing him, See, you're not restless. You are silence. Swamiji, I'm restless. You are all silence. I'm restless. You are all silence. The more you say, that fellow expressed his restlessness, and a point came when he said, Swami, from Swamiji he came to Swami. If you say that once more, there will be two restless people. So then Swami thought that, okay, this is our limit here. Then Swami asked him, why do you say you're restless? I know I am restless. How do you know you're restless? My mind is restless. Okay, your mind is restless. Meaning that you are the knower of your restless mind. You are aware of your restless mind. Meaning that mind also is an object of my awareness. Awarer is different from what he is aware of. So mind I am not. I am different from body. I am different from mind. You know what that means? It means that I am not many things that I have taken myself to be. I say, Swamiji, I am going to die. I ask, what is going to die? Who is going to die? I am going to die. You? What do you mean you? This body will die. Okay. So now I look upon myself as a mortal being, as subject to death, always afraid of death, fear of death. This is, I am not the body. Which means the attributes of body are not my attributes. Yes, the birth is, something was born. Though I celebrate my birth date, if I come to think of it, I say, Swami, when you were saying, I was born before so many years. What was born? The body was born. I say, I was born. In reality, what was born? The body was born. Somebody is growing old. What is growing old? Not I. The body is growing old. I am the knower of the body that is growing old. I am the knower of the body that has all the wrinkles. A knower of the body which is all this grey hair or gone hair, whatever it is. So once I know that I am different from that, then it no more matters to me. I know that I am not this chair, and therefore if chair is big or small or red or what does it matter to me? So also if it is very clear to me that I am not the body, then the body has a wrinkle, no problem. But today it's a problem. Today the Swami says everything about body is a problem, beginning from tip to the toe. The hair is a problem. How much hair I have, what color of hair I have, what is the density of the hair, whether I have the hair or not. And my nose, what is its shape, how does it look, my eyes, what are their colors, the eyelashes, what is their color. Everything is a problem to me because I am the body. The body creates all kinds of complexes in me because I am the body. But if I am clear that I am not the body, then I am objective about the body. I am not emotional about the body, objective about the body. Then I am as objective about this body as I am about that body. Okay, it's getting old, I understand. It's there. That's the nature of body. What does it matter? Good. Our Swami says, I am 84 years old, okay, good. Yeah, wrinkles, I want these wrinkles. It's not just coming free. So, all complexes on account of taking the body to myself, they're all gone. And the mind creates all kinds of complexes. Swamiji, I can't remember. Big problem. I cannot understand what you are saying. I understand as well I'm in the class. The moment I go out, it all goes away. So many problems I have. This Swamiji, this technology I cannot understand. So intellect is a limited thing. Mind is a limited thing. Unfortunately, when I am the mind, I am the intellect, then all the limitations of the mind and intellect become my limitations. And I suffer from a sense of limitation. My suffering comes from a sense of limitation. When I find myself a limited being, I become unhappy. And this body contributes to that. Not body, the identification of the body. Taking body to myself is a great contributor to my feeling limited. Taking the mind to myself is a great contributor to taking myself to be a limited being. So mind is mind. Memory is memory. I don't remember. I don't recall, you don't recall. I don't remember roads, I don't remember. Can't remember faces, can't remember, okay. I become objective. I let the mind do what it is. If you want to change it, but don't suffer. Changing the mind is one thing, and suffering because of mind is another thing. Then I know where the limitations are there. Today I look upon them as my limitations. Now I realize that they belong elsewhere. There are limits. Something is born and something is going to die. That's not I, that's a body. All right? Something is limited, that's mind, okay? So when I know this distinction, no more the limitations coming from taking the body or mind to myself, no more I look upon them as my limitations. Then who are you? The one who is the witness of the body, one who is the witness of the mind. And so, says Adi Shankaracharya, Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham, nacha shrotra jihve, nacha ghrana netre, nacha vyoma bhumir, na tejo na vayu, chidananda rupaha, shivoham. One great teacher says that these thoughts I am not, the emotions I am not, the eyes I am not, the ears I am not, the sense organs I am not, the body I am not. Then who are you? I am the awarer. What's your nature? Awareness is my nature. The nature of awarer is awareness. Nature of knower is knowledge. Awareness is my nature. How big is awareness? Awareness has no boundary because I am aware of all the boundaries. So boundless awareness I am. Boundlessness means happiness. That means eternity. That means immortality. Immortality, happiness, awareness, boundlessness. That's what I am. So this is the teaching that the Upanishads provide to us. Is to direct, the problem is there and we need the solution of the problem, but the Upanishads explain to us that there is no real problem. It is a problem of superimposing what belongs to one place, transferring. In psychology they call it transference, People suffer from transference. I hate this person. What has he done? Nothing. But my mind transfers. He is my brother who always harassed me. I hated him. So this fellow reminds me of that, and in him I see my brother and have the same emotions that I had from my brother. Transference, identification. That is the cause of all the problems. And the solution is recognizing a knowledge of the true nature of myself. So this is the message that the Upanishads give. Message sort of abbreviated, but this is what basically teaches. They invite me to look at myself and discover, of course guide us as to how to do that. It's not that this is done in 15 minutes. It takes years and years of teaching is done. If you want to. It's 15 minutes are also enough. Depends upon our preparation. How well prepared we are. It will be 15 minutes, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, 1 decade, 1 lifetime, number of lifetimes, whatever it is. For this to impact me, for this to become a reality for me, when it does, so that is the solution to all my problems. And there is no other solution. If what I am seeking was found somewhere else, then okay, there is no other solution. It's not a legitimate problem. The solution is in discovering of what I am. And that's a basic or fundamental teaching of the Upanishad, as relevant in any century. Because human being is the same. His needs are the same. His ignorance is the same. His complexes are the same. And therefore, the solution also is the same. So here we will conclude. And I am said that we should give some time for question and answers. So, if...
So where's the question? So Vivekananda, formulate and pass on notes. If you want to script your questions, please write them. It helps bring clarity in what you want to ask, so that helps. And I'll try and start off a moderated Q&A, and we're small enough that we can just jump in and ask from our own spots, but if anybody wants sheets and scribe, it's available. And so I'll start with mine. And the question I had is about certain parts of my mind being not I. So when thoughts arise and there is pragmatism, that I understand. But the I should have thought, we are trying to record this, so we are trying to get all the questions on the mic as well so that it goes to the audio feed. So my question, Swamiji, is the objective distance that you have from certain kinds of thoughts. Give me an approximation that that's not me. And while that's not my reality, at least I can work towards it, because I see certain thoughts, and when you sit and practice meditation and you slow it down enough, you do see that this is not me, and that happens. But then there are certain parts of my mind that have a very visceral emotional response. Mm-hmm. And that has such a rapidity with which they arise. and they have a charge, and they're loaded with feelings, that all the effort I make to see this is not me is useless. In hindsight, yes, but in real time, there is no distance between that feeling and me. That's all commingled, and I am that. So does Swamiji have any insight or tools from where I can learn to see certain distance from feelings and emotions so that they don't just totally overwhelm my whole body and have a completely visceral response? Because those are the ones I don't grip.
So the question is that it is nice to know that I am different from my mind. But somehow, there are times when I want to create that distance with my mind. Very often, I cannot create the distance. The mind seems to overwhelm me. Mind seems to sweep me away with it. And therefore, I find that there is no distance with the mind. I become as good as the mind or as bad as the mind. When does this particularly happen? Whenever the mind is overcome by impulses. What is an impulse? Anger is an impulse. Jealousy is an impulse. Frustration is an impulse. Attachment is an impulse. Aversion is an impulse. So, it is true that in order to own up this teaching, we need to do work. We have to gain the capacity to create and retain that distance. Meaning that I can see that I am not the mind, provided I am able to create a distance with the mind. Very often the mind itself does not allow me to create that distance. Mind itself, when the mind comes under the spell of an impulse such as anger, then I cannot retain the distance, the mind sweeps me away. So while we are learning this, we also undertake a program of progressively making our mind free from the hold of these impulses. Anger, greed, lust, passion. So when these things arise in my mind, the mind is no more in my control, I am in control of the mind. That's a practical problem. So we will undertake a special program. What is that program? Is that these impulses arise because of certain attitudes that I have. And therefore, I need to entertain deliberately certain values and attitudes in order to progressively overcome these impulses that have been created from wrong attitudes. In the past, because of wrong values and wrong attitudes, these impulses are created and become so strong. What's my basic attitude? I am a self-centered person. I am for myself. If whatever I do, I always look at my self-interest, has always been very important to me. I always come across from the position of self-interest. Human being does. Now this self-interest makes me a self-centered person, makes my need more important than your need, and then very often I trample upon your needs, compromise your needs, hurt your needs in order to fulfill my needs. So this attitude of self-centeredness, selfishness, which we possess naturally, habitually, that is conducive to create attachments, aversions, passions, anger, greed. All of these impulses are basically the product of this one attitude of self-centeredness. So now what does Vedanta teach? What the Bhagavad Gita teaches? Deliberately entertain the attitude of other-centeredness, what they call selflessness. So therefore, performing all your activities or invite the activity, it is important to deliberately maintain the attitude of other-centeredness, selflessness, or in the words of our Swamiji, from being a consumer, become a contributor. From being a grabber, being a giver. So deliberately entertaining this attitude of being a giver, our Swamiji nicely says, whenever anybody comes before me, the first thought that arises in my mind is, how can I be useful to this person? On the contrary, when somebody comes before me, the first thought that arises in my mind is, how can I use this person? So two ways to relate to the world. How can I use it, or how can I be useful to it? In fact, every moment gives us opportunity. Every interaction. Behind that is always an agenda. Even when I am talking to you, there is an agenda. Even I may not be aware, but my mind stealthily entertains an agenda. And usually the agenda is how to use, how to take advantage, how to exploit. I should become aware of that agenda. And there I should replace it. Not using them, being useful to them. Not taking advantage, giving advantage. Thus, from a wrong attitude, all these impulses have been born, and by the right attitude, progressively, it is a time-consuming thing because impulses arise over a long time. So we cannot expect this process to happen, within overnight. In Ayurveda, they say that the treatment of a disease will be depend. How long will it take for you to, to be cured of the disease? Depends upon how long you've been having that disease. For years together you had it, have patience, Swamiji. You need to take this medication for a length of time. So this is an age-old disease of wrong attitudes, wrong values, arising from a wrong understanding of myself. What is my wrong understanding? I'm a needy person, a helpless person, a limited person. I have to always be for myself. I must protect myself. That insecurity. I'm always functioning from the platform of insecurity, platform of need. And more I function from that platform, more that platform becomes only perpetuated. Meaning that more I try to satisfy my insecurity, insecurity doesn't go away, it gets perpetuated. That's an unfortunate thing. The only way that insecurity can go is not by satisfying insecurity, but by replacing it by security. Meaning that from being a grabber, I have to transform myself into being a giver. From a consumer to a contributor. From a self-centered person to a other-centered person, selfless person. That's the process. So we have to undertake this process very consciously and constantly. Yoga Shastra says, to attain success in anything, like where you have to transform your mind, you need to do it constantly, for a great length of time, with commitment and enthusiasm. Dirghakala nairantariya aturam. Long time, constantly, with commitment. So, this is what we have to do. This is called yoga. Therefore, Vedanta or Bhagavad Gita teaches us two things. What we earlier discussed is called self-knowledge or Brahma Vidya. This that we discuss, which requires transformation of our mind, transformation of ourselves, without which we cannot reap the benefit of this knowledge, without which we cannot reap the benefit of the understanding. It's called yoga. So Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra, the two are something to be known and something to be done. The doing it rightly will correct all the problems that have arisen from doing it wrongly. So doing right and knowing right, are very important things. Okay.
Any other questions? I'll handle.
સ્વામીજી, મારે એક ક્વેશ્ચન છે કે આપણા બધાના આત્મા કેવી રીતના તમે સમજાવી શકો આત્માને, અને એ કન્ટ્રીબ્યુટ કેવી રીતના આપણા માઇન્ડ બોડીને કરે? I mean, I know it does, but how is it?
So, what? Still, the question is not clear to me. You are asking what's the nature of the self?
The nature of soul.
We told you, nature of soul or nature of self is happiness, freedom, love. That's the nature.
So that's how it's contributing to our mind body.
And therefore, we should also express that nature in our actions. Since love is my nature, my action should be prompted by love, not by hatred. Since happiness is my nature, my action is prompted from happiness and not from sadness.
So one having a hatred, is that also contributed by our Atma?
The hatred is misguided Atma. So properly guided Atma will know that hatred does not help me, it hurts me.
So this is how you can describe how your Atma is coping with your mind body.
Right. How the Atma has to cope with it. It is coping with right now wrongly. It has to cope rightly.
There's a question from the audience. Please explain the meaning of the term Maya.
Please explain. See, we didn't talk about that. But anyway,
No, it's
because we have confined our talk to some very simple concepts. And now if you want to introduce some new concept, it's a time-consuming thing.
we can defer it. Maybe Swamiji is going to interact
Well, anyway,
when we have tea.
Doesn't matter. Let us say, now let me answer that question as simply as we can.
Okay.
Please, this is, Indians are all familiar with the word Maya. The Westerners may not be familiar with the word Maya. So, what is this Maya? Maya means magic. One meaning of the word Maya is magic. In Sanskrit, the magician is called Mayavi. So what does the magician do? The magician casts a spell upon the audience, and with his magic displays something which is not really there. Thus a magician may take a piece of newspaper and say, hey, here is $100 bill. And the audience sees a $100 bill. Have you ever attended a magic program, a magician? They do this. There is a jar of water, he keeps on pouring water forever and it never gets exhausted. Meaning that the magician is able to show what normally is not possible, what is not there. Meaning that he is able to do what is not there. Or put it this way, I mean, he is able to produce a $100 bill which is not there, right? If it was there, you see, in India, these magicians would be on the roadside and make some show, and 50 people would gather around that. He'll show a $100 bill and stuff like that and entertain them. At the end of the show, he comes out with his hat asking for for quarters. If you actually could make $100 bill, why should I have to ask for it? That shows that it's not there. It's just an appearance. So what is magic? Magic is creating an appearance of what is not there. But two things are involved. Not only does the magician create an appearance of what is not there, but makes the audience believe it to be true. If audience knew that this is just a show, then there is no fun. But audience that is under the spell of magic believes that this is real $100 bill. It's a real thing. And so also in appearance. In fact, as we said, by nature, I am of nature of love, happiness, freedom, limitlessness. What do I take myself to be? Limited, unhappy, sad, which is not there. I see what is not there. I see in myself the limitedness which is not there, the sadness which is not there, the insecurity which is not there. Not only that, I take it to be real. I'm really insecure, I'm really limited, I'm really sad. So thus, creating appearance of what is not there and making us take it, this is called Maya. And so Maya creates this.
I would like to know what is Swaman. Is it part of mind or emotion and you should have it, or you have to go beyond it? And what is Swadharma?
First question is, what is self-respect? Swaman, self-respect. Is it a good thing to have self-respect or not? It's a good thing to have self-respect. We should respect ourselves. There's always a limit. The self-respect is necessary for us to feel a sense of self-worth. Beyond a certain point, that self-respect also becomes a burden. So then we have to let it go. So everything has usefulness. Like a volt pole, You volt yourself up and then drop it. So you do need that pole to lift yourself to that point, but you need to drop it. Self-respect is like that. You need to feel respectful in your own eyes, self-worth, which is a requirement. But a point comes when you have to transcend that, you have to let it go. So it's useful also, and if you hold on to it too long, it's a burden also. So there must be this sense of proportion, or viveka we call it, discrimination. Swadharma. Dharma means duty. Swadharma means my duty. So in every situation, there is always an expectation from me as to what I should respond to a situation in a proper manner. So Swadharma is my duty which I perform in an appropriate manner. Meaning in every situation, I do what is proper, what is right. Why does this question arise? Because very often I have a tendency to do what I like. Sometimes what I like is different from what is right. What I like is cake. What is right is bread. Swamiji, too much sugar already. No good for you. What I like is pastry, is cake, is candy. What is right is soup, and stuff like that. So very often, what we like and what is right are different things. Then to do what is right and let go what I like is Swadharma. Go ahead. Now go ahead.
A doctor, a psychiatrist tells the patient that they are born with anxiety or they are born with depression or they have developed depression or developed anxiety. Would the person continue to take medicine? Then they will be better. If they stop medications, then the next time over, they will have to take a higher dose. That is what the psychiatrist tells. So is it possible that the patient who is committed to altering the mind, capable of telling the psychiatrist that at some point there won't be a need for the medication at all? If the commitment to altering the mind and being aware that it is anxious is complete?
Yes, if you can become your own therapist, then in course of time you can come out of the need of medication. The medication is for the person who cannot cure himself or herself. So perhaps one may need medication to a point where I am comfortable enough to be my own therapist, and then I have the capacity, to be able to change and transform my mind. So we would exercise that capacity. We have that. Generally we have that. Sometimes we may need the assistance of medication for gaining that capacity and then become free. So sometimes, for pain also. They say you should not take physical therapy if you are in pain. So you know what they do? They give you pain medication so that there is no pain. Now you do physical therapy and get the strength so you become free from pain, So that kind of a thing is possible.
Can I add?
How long are we going on with this question? You tell me.
Few more questions.
No, I have nothing else to do. I'm talking about,
Same related questions. The Asperger's child does not make eye-to-eye contact or afraid to make eye-to-eye contact. Is there any spirituality or any deeper meaning for them?
Oh, you mean the child with
Asperger's syndrome, that in autism.
Autism.
And the higher spectrum, they are very intelligent, very academically super, number one, but they are afraid to make eye-to-eye contact. Afraid, or maybe avoid.
Well, I have very limited knowledge about this, but one thing I can say, if the problem is a pathological problem, then it's one thing. If it's a psychological problem, it's a different thing. Pathological problem means suppose you're born with brain damage. Suppose you're born with some disability in your physical body, there's nothing that thinking can do. Medication can do something, but pathological problems cannot be solved by reasoning, by understanding, etc.
At this moment, because I'm following science and spirituality,
Yeah.
the junction to all the doctors, they are wondering what's going on at this moment.
Yeah, at this moment, this is where we are. If they discover something in future, I do not know. But to the best, right now, as best as I understand, the pathological situation cannot be changed by spirituality.
Thank you, Swamiji. I have a question. I kept hearing the word needs and wants. You kept using those words. Is there something that distinguishes a need from a want?
A need and want are not very different. A want also can mean a lack. wanting, lacking. A need is a manifestation of a lack. My need is not generally for what I already have. The need is for what I do not have and what I feel that I should have. So need arises from an inner sense of lack or want. That I am lacking space, I need an apartment of larger space. I need so many pairs of clothes, I need this food. So when I feel a lack in me, then it comes out as need or desire. So call it lack, call it want, call it need, call it desire, they all amount to the same thing. Okay, I think, shall we conclude here? Any question? Yeah. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
We'd like to give some closing remarks.
Yes, please, go ahead.
I can also still use it. I've been asked to give the closing remarks by Ruchika. I've never done this before, so it's a challenge for me. I know this particular instance, it's easy to do a closing remark because all of you are sitting down, but in general, when people do the word of thanks, everyone's running out. So thank you for sitting here. Everything that we have in our life, all the good things we have in our life is because of others. And today, I want to thank all the people who made this possible. First, the facility that was provided today, thanks goes out to the administrator, Teresa de los Santos, and also the Reverend Kent Duff. You know, without them, we wouldn't have had this facility for us to listen to this talk. And you're going to be served with some food, and the food has come from some of the local grocers, one of them being Sprouts, another one being Trader Joe's, and the third one is Whole Foods. So you can see that they've also given in the spirit of giving and not expecting, expecting anything back. But today they've given without expecting nothing back. So they have practiced what we learned today. And also want to thank the volunteers who put this together today. And I also want to thank Swami Advayatmananda for bringing Swami Viditatmananda here to Southern California. And I want to share something that Swami Advayatmananda runs Arsha Drishti in San Diego, and they provide free online classes, local classes in Vedanta, Sanskrit, meditation and chanting, and he's a roving monk, so you can have him come and do classes near to you. And the slogan that I read from his thing is, "You are even now what you seek to be." So I think that's good. And I think with that, thank you all for coming. And tomorrow is in Diamond Bar. I'm sure some of you can make that ride. It's off the 57 and 60. So please, if possible, come to Diamond Bar too. Ruchika, you want to?
No, just that some of us could split. We'll have some refreshments, and Swamiji has a little booklet, and if we can come and receive that.
First, before refreshment, first receive the booklet, then
Yes.
refreshment.